In this little series here, I'm going to show you how to make an Aisho scale bucket. So this one's probably a 3-gallon pail maybe, or 20 liter I think as we know it. And I'll show you what I did or how I made it in the next little bit. Okay, so I thought I'd best start out with the materials I used to make the bucket. And you can make a 5-gallon bucket just as easily with these materials as well. It doesn't have to be the 20 liter or the 3-gallon, I think it is. What I started with was some styrene, and this is hollow. And the outside dimension of this one is 4.75 mil. I have no idea what it is in inches, and 4.75 mil is pretty easy. I used micrometer here just to measure it up. And I also found, I got an assorted rod packet from Evergreen, so I have no idea what these things, the codes are for Evergreen. But this is a rod that fits snugly inside that hole. And that rod is 3.2 mil. So I guess from those measurements, you guys can guess the pack numbers, whatever they are. And the other one I used from Evergreen is just the 1/2 mil rod. And so this is the rod I used to form the lip on the bucket. And then, so those are the materials, the plastics. And then I've got 0.3 mil wire, and this is just brass wire. And this is what I made the handle from. Okay, so that's all the materials. Need a sharp knife. I got a 1/2 mil drill bit on here. You'll need your tweezers, and you'll need some kind of solvent. And I use flat edge pliers to bend the wire. I find them work best. No teeth, just make sure they close nicely. All right, so that's it for the materials. Stay tuned. Okay, so I forgot to mention 3 other tools. Some high quality nippers, which these are not. These are cheap Chinese jobs, and they don't coincide with each other anymore, the blades. A pencil, and of course a sanding stick. So this is 400 grit and 120 on the other side. All right, I'm going to start off with my 1/2 mil rod, and let's see if we can get this to focus. I'm really struggling here. Okay, there we go. So I just dabbed on a bit of plastic weld on here, and this is going to form the rim of the bucket. So I got to let that dry, and we'll come back, and what I'm going to do is wrap it around the rim and glue it in place. Okay, so the one side's dry now, and I'm just going to wrap the rod around, and I'll put some more glue on, or more solvent. And then I'll hold that on there. And I just want to nip it right to the edge and join the sides up. I think I'll have to nip a bit more off. Okay, so just hold tight and squeeze the ends together, and then let that dry. So I'll come back to you when that's dry and move on to the next step. Okay, while we're waiting for that to dry, I'll make the handle for the bucket. So this again is the 0.3 mil brass wire. And the first thing I'm going to do is use my pencil and make a handle by bending it over the where I think is a good spot to actually get the arch quite nice. So maybe a bit more, down here a bit lower. Try and make it look like the pail handle, but I know how that looks. I think it's a bit tighter of a bend. And it also helps to make a bit tighter of a bend too, because you're going to put this handle on the bucket as a friction fit, you're not going to glue it. So it actually needs to be overbent, and you'll see why in a little bit. So overbending is good. That looks pretty good. That's an overbent. And then I got to take my flat pliers, and I'm going to bend a 90-degree bend on these guys. So I'll show you when I finish getting my fingers out of the way. There, if you can see that. Yeah, there's a 90-degree bend on that, and I got to do the same on the other side. So I'm going to cut this free. Alright, and now I got to bend the other side. And if the handle's too big, well, you can always make it smaller. Okay. So that's the bucket handle right there. And you can, I think I'm going to cinch this one a little bit more to close. That should be good. All right, that piece is done. Okay, now we're going to work back on the piece that's dried here. So a couple things I'm going to do here. I'm going to take my knife, which has a narrow angle blade on it, and I'm going to use that to ream out the inside of the tube. Okay, so basically you just push in, try and keep the sharp part vertical when you twist, and you're just basically shaving off the inside of the plastic tube. And you're doing this just to make the bucket look a bit more scaled, because the yeah, that's looking a bit better, right? That's probably taken off half the thickness of the tube itself. Maybe I'll go for 2/3, and then we'll leave it at that. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's a pretty thin top. That's probably to scale. Now the next thing is this lip is too big. So what I do with that, to make the lip a bit more scale-wise, I just sand it down so it's not sticking out so much. I mean, if they had like 0.25 mil, I could have actually used the wire on this, but I think the Plastruct is better, because it'll actually mold to itself. So sanding it down is no big deal. I'm just making a bit more lower profile on the bucket rim. Alright. So go all the way around evenly. Oh, looks like I gotta re-glue that. Anyway, I'll move on to the next step and then I'll re-glue this. But now, so that's my 20-liter pail. And I think I want to go on to the 5-gallon one. Actually, no, 5-gallon is 20 liters. Okay, that must be my 15-liter pail. I'm going to do a 20, so I'm going to do it a bit longer. Get rid of the stuff, the furry stuff on my knife. And I'm just going to cut the bucket now, because I'm ready to. So I'm going to make this one a bit longer, which I think that's about it. So basically, just do a nice light cut all the way around. And keep rolling it, just like you'd cut a PEX pipe. You want a nice clean cut if you can get one. And I didn't let that rim dry long enough. Whoops. Uh-oh. Damn, I think I lost it. I'm gonna try and find my bucket. Yeah, in case you're wondering, I didn't find it. This is the second one. I just made another one. So yeah, I've cut it off there, and I put my finger over it so it didn't fly off into ether. And now we have a bigger bucket compared to the other one. So a couple things left to do is plug the hole at the bottom. So that's what this guy's here for. This is the solid rod, 3.2 mil. And I'm just gonna glue that in. I'll just put some solvent around it and shove it in the bottom of the bucket. And I'll let that dry. I'm trying to get it close to the bottom, so leaves the bucket pretty empty. And that's it. So while that's drying up, now I've got my 1/2 mil drill bit, and I need to put a couple holes in the side. Put them on a downward angle. There's one. And then on the opposite side. I'll put another hole, and for you people following along there, I'm pretty sure you can guess what the next step is. And I'll just let that dry. Now, these guys here, this is the tricky part. Again, something might fly off into space here. See if I can get it to stay. So I gotta find the holes. There's one. Come on. Tricky part. Where's the other hole? I don't see it. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, so that's the handle on the bucket. It's actually not centered. Maybe I'll drill another hole. And then the last step is to cut the bottom off. And we all know that with Murphy's Law, I will probably cut the bottom off and lose this bucket. So I'm not going to film that, but that's the last step. And then you can paint it up any color you want. You can do Home Depot orange or just leave it white. Those are the only 2 buckets I know. Anyway, that's how to make an HO scale bucket. And there is one on my recent build. It's up on the oil unloading platform. I guess if they have a leak, they'll put the bucket down to catch some of the oil. So also a good prop for anything else too, just kind of have kicking around. So that's an HO scale bucket. You can make it as big or, well, depending on your evergreen you start with, you can make it as big or small as you want. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, guys.